angels willing to hold us in their arms. When our worth was stone, our ashes, and we both passed on. Let forever mean forever and carry on.
Good afternoon. It is another day. Man, I'm telling you. Although I have been persistently worn out for, it seems almost like weeks. It seems like time is just kind of flying by. I don't know why, but I mean, it's like one day I'm dragging myself here to start the Monday show, and then next thing I know, today it's Thursday. So I don't know what it is. I guess I keep myself at least mentally busy enough that it just goes kind of fast. So I do got something I do want to talk about today, and it's not a rant, believe it or not. So that's I think a good thing, maybe. No real big announcements that I know of from the last 24 hours as far as we're concerned. Everything is pretty much even keel, which I like. I can't think of anything. We'll be doing some legacy food reviews here soon. Just got to get everything worked out for that. I may need to get a cheap camera before I do that. And the reason why is because for whatever reason, my cell phone, even if I have a completely empty SD card in my cell phone, it only lets me record 10 minutes or so. So what I'm thinking about doing is just getting a cheapy little $20 or something camera off of eBay or Amazon, or just something that will record in at least 720. I don't need something that's going to be major insane or anything. So, the thing of it is what I'm going to be doing is, instead of just shooting video of us sitting there eating pancakes, for instance, I'm actually going to shoot video of the process of making it, what it looks like, coming out of the bag, the process of mixing it up and cooking it, and then, of course, eating it. And my plan is to have a friend come and eat with us. We've got 3 different things we're going to be doing reviews on from Legacy Food Storage, and my intent is to have a friend come that's completely unbiased, and she is like a completely honest person. So if she doesn't like something, she'll tell you. That's just the way she is. I don't feel right just Jen and myself doing a review because we could be considered biased, although I'm not that way. You don't know that. So anyway, we've got that. That's going to be coming soon. Updates hopefully are going to be coming soon on the Prepper Nurse 1 website. Going to give it a little bit of a facelift. Going to give it a new menu. But I mean, I'm not going to change up stuff so much that people are going to be like, oh my God, where do I go? Everything's going to pretty well look, it's going to navigate the same and look the same for the most part. Anyway, let's see. The only other thing I can think of is if, and I'm just going to throw out a shameless plug. If you happen to be shopping on Amazon, do me a favor and click on the Amazon affiliate link in the description of our videos, or go to the website, thewatchmannews.com, and you can use the search box here and look for whatever you want. You can check out what Amazon suggests in the different categories and stuff. It's a good way to get ideas for things that you may want or need. So anyway, that's all of that. So what do I want to talk about today? Today I want to talk about when should you bug out. Survival Prepping for Normal People did a couple of really good videos today. One of them, in a sense, is kind of related to this subject. He talked about it briefly during his video. And so I got to thinking, this is something that probably needs to be elaborated on. I've talked about it here and there in the past, but I've really never dedicated any kind of time or, attention to the subject per se. So, the biggest thing is, and I should say, when to bug out and / when to batten down, okay, because some people aren't bugging out. So let's go ahead and go with, when to do it, the trigger of when to do it's going to be the same, okay? It's going to be the same trigger, whether you're going to batten down or bug out. But here's the thing. Early bird gets the worm, okay? Without a doubt. If the early bird doesn't move, or if you're not an early bird, guess what? There's probably not going to be a worm. In other words, I'm telling you, depending on the type of event that happens, okay, especially if it's something like a false flag or something like that, you better bet, especially in your more populated areas, they're going to have those areas locked down faster than you can even imagine. Okay, there's already complete plans put in place to locking down the borders of states and everything else when this happens. So if you have a bug out location and it's located out of state, and I don't care if it's 10 minutes away from you, but across the state line, you better take that in consideration, because that is going to be one of their primary focuses, is locking down those state lines. Okay? That is a border, and they're going to lock down the borders. This has been a system that's been in the works to get implemented for a long time. And the Real ID Act plays into it. There's a lot of things that play into it that have been right underneath our noses. And for the most part, people never put the two together. So anyway, when should you bug out? It's a pretty simple answer. It really is. Or / batten down. At the first possible chance. Okay, here's the thing. Some people might be of the mindset, well, what if I bug out, or I go to bug out and it turns out to be nothing. I jumped the gun and I took off, or I started doing, going through my procedures at my home, and it turned out to be nothing. Okay, so you had a good practice. And that's the way I look at it. You had a good practice. You would rather waste a little bit of gas or waste a little bit of materials or whatnot and err on the safe side than what you would being stuck in a particularly nasty situation. And folks, when this stuff happens, one of the things when people are in car accidents, one of the things that you hear them say quite often is it happens so fast. It happens so fast. This is not going to be any different. When things start to happen, it's going to go quick. There's going to be a lot of confusion. There's going to be a lot of fear. There's going to be a lot of things. And that's why you want to make sure that you have a plan and that you have gone over that plan and that you have practiced that plan. You want that plan to be instinct, because hesitation kills. So you want to get out at the very, very first sign of trouble. You don't want to wait until you see the fire. When you see some smoke, when you know something's smoldering, you want to get out of Dodge or batten down the hatches. Again, you would rather, and it's like prepping in general, right? There's been people prepping for decades, probably centuries. I would say centuries. There's been people prepping, okay? And so you've got centuries worth of generations, okay, that many of them could tell you that they prepped for nothing, but they didn't. See? That's just it. You never prep for nothing. Even if nothing ever happens in your lifetime, you still prepped for peace of mind. That is your insurance policy, okay? An insurance policy that nobody else can give you. That is the most important insurance policy that you could ever have. Prepping is important, even if nothing ever happens. So anyway, like I said, if you do it all for naught and you waste a little bit of gas or you waste a little bit of materials, so be it. Consider that a practice. Go back over how everything went. Look to see if there's any holes in your plan, in your systems, and then address them. That's why I say practice. Practice is important. You have to practice. You know, there's a lot of people in the prepper/survivalist world, we'll call it, that will tell you about how you need to use the items that you prep. Okay? In other words, if you've got this item and that item or whatever, and you've never used it, you have no idea how well it works, you have no idea even if it works, and in some cases, you may not know, how to get it to work, so to speak, because there's a lot of things in life that don't work as advertised, right? And there's a lot of different circumstances that might dictate whether or not a particular product will work ideally for you in your particular situation. You see what I'm saying? If you've stored back 50,000 newspapers to be able to help light fires after SHTF, and those your bug out location, whatever the case may be, you had to travel outside or whatever, and all your newspapers get wet, guess what? Your preps are done. And I know it's a bad example. It was just something I thought of on the fly, right? Make sure you check out your equipment. Make sure you use your equipment. That's one of the things with I was telling you about doing reviews for Legacy Foods. Well, that is one of the things that I'm going to be doing is we have a little bitty stove. We have a little bitty wood cooking stove that we got. And if all goes well, I will be using that to cook at least one of the Legacy meals. Okay, so I'm looking forward to that. Use your preps, right? I already know that my big knife, the Jess X knife, I already know it works well. I mean, I've still got you can still see the cut on my hand. It works real well. It's pretty sharp, too. And don't twirl it. No twirling it. It doesn't work right. I don't think that was one of the functions listed on that particular item. So, again, we go back to at the earliest time. That is when you need to do this stuff. There are some things that I would say would probably be wise to hold off on. I wouldn't do necessarily right away. And again, all of this is situationally dependent. Okay? Every bit of it. It depends on the situation. It depends on the event. It depends on your personal situation, where you live, the whole 9 yards. Okay? So that's why I might be a little vague here, because we all have different situations. I can sit here and run you through my entire plan, and it does you no good. Because why? You don't live here. But there are certain things I would say you could hold off on. Not necessarily a long time, but things like blacking out your windows if you're going to bug in, for instance. Okay. If there's a major event, let's say it's an EMP, okay? Now, I wouldn't be, if there was an EMP, I certainly wouldn't be walking around your house with flashlights, or if you have a backup power system that survives the EMP, I definitely wouldn't be letting everybody know that you have electricity, okay? You should have other things put back, too. Don't just rely on electrical gadgets. Okay, but you should have oil lanterns, you should have candles, you should have... So those things are no big deal. If somebody walks past your home and sees that you have a candle flickering, right, or you have an oil lamp lit, okay, that's not going to be out of the norm. Okay? But I would say that by day 2, day 3, you want to make sure that you have your windows and stuff blacked out. Because Some point around there, people are going to start getting hungry, and they're going to start looking for food, and to find food, they're going to be looking for people, and if they can see a sign that there's, activity inside of a building, they're going to come knocking. Which leads me to something I talked about once before, and I have no choice but to say this. Folks, this is important. The whole gray man aspect is important. When you black out your windows, do it in a manner, if you at all can, in which it doesn't look like you blacked them out. Okay? If your plans are to board up your windows, which is probably a good idea, do so in a way that they don't look boarded up. The more secure you make something look from the outside, the more people on the outside are going to want to get in, because they know you've got something in there that you're protecting. Most likely it's something that goes beyond just your life. You've got supplies, you've got food, you've got something. So there's a lot in just the whole gray man aspect. But the important thing in getting out as quick as you can, in the case that you're bugging out, is because it would be real hard to bug out completely gray man. Okay? It would be hard. Unless you've got a bug out location where you have almost everything you need already there at the location. Yeah, you're gonna look like you're prepped for something. Okay? Because you're not gonna be talking about carrying around a little day bag. Right? Because I constantly hear people, talk especially about backpacks and stuff. You want something that doesn't look military. You don't want, and they're right. They're correct. But the problem with that is like I say, if you don't have a location somewhere where you've already got the majority of all your preps pre-positioned and ready to go, then that means you're going to have quite a bit of stuff on you or in your vehicle. And that's not exactly looking gray, man. Believe me, if you've got a huge pack, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it looks like a schoolgirl's pack or somebody from the Special Forces. People are going to want what's inside of it. They ain't going to care. And you give it enough time, and people ain't going to care if it's a messenger bag. They're going to want what's in it. They're not going to care. That's the important thing. That's another reason why you want to get out of Dodge immediately. Because the longer you wait is more time that people can figure out not only what's going on and how dire it is, but they're also going to be able to figure out easily that you're prepared and you're on your way somewhere. Which brings up the whole other thing. People could follow you to your bug out location. Okay? The quicker you get out and you go do this, the less chance of any of this is going to be a factor. Okay? So let's say that it's not government, it's not, it's not conspiracy theories that's doing this. Okay? Let's say that the police do not block off roads or anything like that. It doesn't mean that individuals won't. And the longer you wait, the more of a chance you're going to run into barricades made by people, well, I won't say just like you and I, because you and I are preppers. Okay? But you're going to run into things like barricades, cars rolled into the middle of the road, whatever they can find stacked in the middle of the road. The more chance you're going to run into things like that, no pun intended, because people are going to be, again, they figured it out. They know there's an issue. They know things might not be back to normal the next day, and so now they're preparing. Okay, but they're preparing to take from whoever and whatever they can get. And roadblocks is going to be a huge way of doing those kind of things. I can't recommend enough to read. Okay, and I'm not talking about just fiction. I'm talking about, I'm talking about fiction. I'm not talking about just nonfiction. A lot of preppers want to read a lot of nonfiction. They want to know that, okay, how many drops of bleach do I need in my water, and all that's important stuff, folks. But there is a lot of scenarios and a lot of things that us as individuals have probably not thought about. And that's where reading these books are a good thing, because it lets you in on a lot of different aspects. It lets you in on several different individuals' minds, providing that you read books from different authors. And again, I'll tell you my top three, okay? I'll tell you my top three. Starting with my favorite, of course, the Survivalist series by A. American, followed up very closely by the Borrowed World series by Franklin Horton, and then a close third, and it was my first books that I read to really get me to fall in love with it, was the 1 Second After trilogy by William Forstchen. I'm telling you, you read those 3 book series, and it will change your life. It will change your aspect. But you run into things, and again, no pun intended, like in one case, somebody had put a dowel on a tricycle and put it out in the middle of the road. And somebody's driving along, and of course they see it the last minute. They hit the tricycle and the dowel, thinking that they just hit a child. They stop, they get out, and they're ambushed. And you're going to see a lot of crazy stuff like that happen, because again, people are going to do whatever they have to do to get what you have, because they're trying to survive too. So I just want you to think about that. The answer is simple. When do you bug out, or when do you batten down? At the earliest possible opportunity. Pretty simple answer. So, and again, there are some things you can kind of hold off on depending on your particular situation and the particular event that happened, and that's mainly, when I'm talking about that, that's mainly for those that are battering down, staying home, bugging in, whatever you want to call it. That's typically for that. If you're bugging out, don't wait. Don't wait. Do it. Get on the way. Do everything that's in your plan as quickly as possible. That means contact the people you need to contact, rally the people that you need to rally, and get on your way. So anyway, that's kind of what I have for you on that topic. I thought it was something that would be a good idea to discuss a little bit. Again, I know it's vague, and I know it's generic, right? You're like, okay, you just spent 30 minutes telling me to leave as quick as I can. But it's important you understand why. Okay, I didn't want to just say those few words and then leave you wondering, well, now why would I need to do that? I wanted to give you some scenarios, some ideas on what supports what I'm saying. Anyway, let's go ahead and do a little bit of news here. We got some crazy stuff. Let me grab my glasses and the mandatory sip of coffee. Glasses, check. Coffee, check. All right, let's do something even if it's wrong. All right, starting out here, St. Charles County man wants officer caught on camera. He wants the officer caught on camera opening his car door to be charged with breaking and entering. Supposedly, that's a big supposedly. There were people breaking into cars. Yeah, the police. There were people breaking into cars around this area, and so I guess the police thought that they could battle car break-ins by committing car break-ins. I don't know. It makes no sense because of the obvious. But anyway. The police have tried to smooth everything over, but that's not working out for them so well. This is insane, folks. This is absolutely nuts. Mind-blowing stuff. House passes sweeping gun bill. Yeah, so why everybody yesterday was losing their minds over the whole Cohen deal and his trial or whatever it is, while all that was going on and people were absolutely losing their minds over it, both the left and the right, all, screaming, we win, right? That's what they did. That's why they put that in front of your face, to distract you, so they could slip this huge gun bill through. So it's through the House, it's got to go to the Senate, and before anybody says, oh, but my savior Trump will not pass it, he'll veto it. You mean Mr. Bumpstock Ban? Mr. Red Flag Law? Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. And I wouldn't be so quick to say that it's not going to pass in the Senate. I would not be too quick to say it. I don't trust any of them. I do not trust any of them. Not for a second. Sometimes you have to walk. Trump leaves Hanoi with no deal. So talking about the talks with Kim Jong-un. A death from above. You're going to love this. Boeing unveils autonomous fighter jet. Now, have I not been talking to you about those for quite some time now? This is, yeah. There are some things. HOA issues fine for what it claimed was a penis-shaped outline in the snow. KUTV isn't new to homeowners associations' controversies, like the rule against flying the American flag except on holidays, or the homeowners in Grantsville that didn't know they lived in an HOA. But a woman in Tennessee may have the best absurd HOA story of them all. She posted on a Reddit community dedicated to people angry about HOAs called HOA that she was asked to pay a $100 fine after her car let the shape of a supposed penis on the pavement after a snowstorm. All right? We're not talking about a lady that went out there and took her shoe and scraped out the image of a penis in the snow. No, we're talking about this was a melted spot where her car was sitting, okay? Likely it melted because she started the car and let it warm up a little bit, and the engine and exhaust and stuff like that melted the snow, right? So, yeah. Oh, my God. Your car, specifically the Honda, left this offensive image on the ground, she was told in a letter. The snow shape apparently violated a rule against displaying offensive images or slogans. The board claimed to have photographic evidence of the obscene pattern. I died laughing, y'all. This is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard of being fined for, and we flat out told them we weren't paying, the registered user called Reservoir Cat wrote. Finally, after a few back-and-forth emails, they simply send us a picture describing the problem, she wrote. The imprint our car left in this pitiful-ass snow was in the shape of a, it's bleeped out, Reservoir Cat wrote, and somehow that's our fault. She said it started from a pitiful little snow that was barely really a frost. She said she and her husband were confused at first because the HOA was vague, stating at first the issue was about snow and the couple's cars. Eventually, it sent the photo along. She gave permission to KUTV to use the photo she posted on Imager with license plates of other cars blurred, but she requested not to have her personal identification used. Eventually, they realized we were serious about not paying, and since there was no bylaws on the books about something like this, they dropped it, she wrote. While the incident, photo, and accusation seem ridiculous, there may be a darker side to it as well. Just be aware that we've been in conflict with our HOA before over disability discrimination, so this was likely targeted, Reservoir Cat told KUTV. And I would say that probably sounds reasonable, that if there's been a riff before, that this was no doubt a case of being targeted. Folks, this whole, do as you will, but, in my advice, if you hear that someplace that you're at least considering moving has an HOA, stay away from it. The cities and towns and counties and, they've got enough craziness in their rules. HOAs is just all of that on steroids. Anyway, continuing on. So let that be a lesson to you, by the way. No deal, but Kim Jong-un promised no missile tests. And I've heard different stories on that. I've actually heard the opposite on that, too. Chinese Defense Ministry denies reports of military presence in Afghanistan. Indian Air Force confirms its MiG-21 Bison shot down a Pakistani Air Force F-16. Progress, but no deal. Mixed scorecard for Trump and Kim's Hanoi summit. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu to be indicted in corruption cases pending hearing. Folks, don't expect anything to come from that, okay? I think it's just lip service. I'm not saying that he's not going to be indicted, he's not going to be charged, but nothing will actually happen. I mean, come on. North Korea offered to halt nuclear long-range rocket testing for partial relief of sanctions. And from my understanding, the answer to that was no. So, India puts weapon systems and Navy on high alert, says Pakistani bombs hit military targets. Whistleblower claims Facebook employing deboosting tools to suppress conservative content. I think they're suppressing the truth more than anything. And by the way, hate does not qualify as truth. There's a lot of hate going around on Facebook and other social media. And people posting it, that are having it removed or being blocked from Facebook for, or otherwise known as Facebook jail. They're throwing a fit and screaming and crying and all that. Folks, hate is not even close to free speech. It's not, okay? Neither is posting misinformation and disinformation, okay? That is not forms of protected free speech, okay? So, I've seen the lies like crazy from both sides. Both sides. So, thing of it is just research. If you truly want to know the truth and if you truly want to spread information, research. Don't just go to websites that are already going to have a view about things the way you want to hear it and then turn around and share that because, well, that's the way you want it to be. Folks, that's a fairy tale. That's not reality. That's propaganda. Propaganda. You know better doing that than communist China or the old USSR. No better at all. Truth. I'm telling you, I haven't been to Facebook jail one time. Not one time. I don't promote hate and I don't spread misinformation. Pretty simple. Right? And I get pretty nasty sometimes with the way I word things. And it's not because I just want to be a jerk. It's because I want to wake people up. Oh, it is what it is. I don't think it's something necessarily because I've seen just as much liberal stuff being suppressed as what I have conservative stuff. I don't think it's targeting conservatives. I think it's targeting asshats. Let's see. And I'm not saying that's all they're targeting. They are targeting, individuals and groups and stuff like that should be allowed to speak and aren't speaking out of hate or aren't speaking out of misinformation. They're just telling the truth. But it's pretty rare in the whole scheme of things. E-cigarettes are much safer than smoking, but few know it. That's a public health tragedy. More and more studies are coming out, including the long-term studies are starting to roll in now, and it's getting to be pretty undeniable that it is a extremely safer alternative to smoking, and in fact, they're in some studies are really kind of having a problem pointing out any negative side effects, any at all. Let's see. Russia and China veto U.S. resolution on Venezuela as attempt to overthrow legitimate government. And let's see. The last thing I got for you. I know I didn't have a lot of stuff. I'll explain that in a second. Driver dies after cops take him for DUI instead of hospital, says a lawyer. This man was involved in an accident, sustained injuries in the accident. I couldn't tell you whether he was drinking or not. The article, I think I read all of it. I don't recall the article saying whether or not there was alcohol found in his system or not, but he had some internal injuries. He had some broken ribs. I think it was a spleen that was ruptured or something. And instead of letting this man go get treatment, they hauled him into the police department. And by the time they realized that he probably needed treatment, they did get him to the hospital, but he, died like 4 days later from the injuries. There are some things when they happen inside of your body that it's kind of just a matter of time. And, certain toxins and stuff like that, once they get in your bloodstream, there's not a whole lot they can do. They can try to fight for you, but in a lot of cases, there's not a lot they can do. And the EMT you're seeing there, in the image, she was even seen on video dancing and talking about how she looked good on camera. This isn't at the hospital. This image you see in front of you, that's at the police department. And so they literally, the ambulance showed up and all that. They even had him on the gurney ready to take him to the hospital, and the police said no. Get him off the gurney, let's get him into our vehicle or whatever. They took him to the police department. Absolutely mind-blowing. And then this EMT, like I say, she's dancing around and looking at the cameras, talking about how she looks good on camera. Absolutely mind-blowing, folks. This is not what I view as heroes. Do you view this as heroes? I certainly don't. So anyway, why don't I have very much today? Because I don't know, once in a while, Facebook will mess up, and it won't allow me to post to a particular page or whatever. The share functions will be messed up, and when I point my finger at Facebook for it, it's because there's multiple websites we're talking about that won't let me share to Facebook, and so then I have to resort to my phone if that works. Well, my phone did work, however, RT will only let me go back so far in the feed. And I normally go back, roughly about 15 to 18 hours, when I share stuff out. That way I try to catch as much stuff that happened through the night. It's much what I consider important stuff. I don't post sports stuff and all of that. And so anyway, that's why there's not a whole lot today, because I had to use my phone to do it, and it would only let me go back so far, and it is what it is. So that issue, at least for the time being, has been rectified from what I can tell. The last couple of things I did post, I was able to do so from the PC. So we'll hope that the news is more expansive tomorrow when I put it out there. So anyway, that's what I've got for you. I appreciate those that listen to my monologues and my rambling on. If you're here for the live show, stick around. Don't do anything. Don't go anywhere. We'll be live till 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. But as for the monologue, I'm closing it up. For those that just watched the monologue or the recording thereof, thank you very much. As I always say, God bless you, we love you, and be one with your spirit.